love South Park and meet some friends of mine.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Dash Reacts. Let's check out the South Park episode, Mystery of the Urinal Deuce. Let's do this.
And so, class, that is when Joe Lee
I
countered
watch the
back
episode
to
when
Anderson
Mr. Garrison
and
becomes
said
Miss
things like,
Garrison.
"All the girls go out in the hall, please. I need to speak with the boys of this class."
Uh-oh. He looks mad.
Somebody went number 2 in the urinal.
When I was in elementary school, somebody actually did take a shit in the urinal.
Who would
What's
do
a
that?
urinal? The wall toilet for peeing in.
I wonder who did it.
Mr. Mackey, I think you might want to entertain that this is some kind of conspiracy, just like 9/11.
9/11 was not a conspiracy, fat ass.
Do you just believe everything you're told, Kyle?
Excuse me.
Careful, Cartman.
You all don't seem to understand how serious this is. Now, who made Dookie in the urinal? Oh, you think it's funny, huh? Okay. You're gonna think it's real funny when the police get here.
There just isn't really any evidence to go on.
But there must have been some
Taking
motive.
pictures of
Nobody
it.
would just duke in the urinal for no reason.
But who would benefit from crapping in the urinal?
Exactly.
This is too big a mystery for me. I think we better call in the Hardley boys.
The Hardley Boys instead of the Hardy Boys. I remember those books. Secret of the Lost. Secret of the Lost.
The Hardley boys. The Hardley boys. Two young
Their faces
whippersnappers
look
with a
like
knack
that.
for solving mysteries. The Hardley boys. Two young
Their faces
whippersnappers
look
with a
like
knack
that.
for solving mysteries. The Hardley boys in The Mystery of the Urinal Turd. Whoever did it must have been
Their
angry with the
mouths.
school. Oh. I think I'm getting a clue.
Really?
Yeah, this is totally giving me a clue right now.
Oh, I'm starting to get a clue too.
My clue's kind of pointing this way.
Oh, yeah, no, I've got a total clue.
I've still got a raging clue.
Oh,
My
God.
clue's pointing over there now.
So creepy.
Anybody who thinks 9/11 was a conspiracy is a retard.
Oh, really? Well, did you know that over 1/4 of people in America think that 9/11 was a conspiracy? Are you saying that 1/4 of Americans are retards?
Yes.
That can't be a true statistic, can it? It can't be that many Americans that think. Like, I know there are going to be some fringe people that believe that, but 25%? I think that's pushing it for conspiracy theorists on 9/11.
Let's take a test sample. There's 4 of us. You're a retard. That's 1/4. I heard that 9/11 was caused by President Bush.
Aha, you see?
Well, I mean, you never know. The government does some pretty spooky things. The government and the corporations headed by the Jews that carried out 9/11.
That's right, Butters.
God
Oh,
damn it.
goodness.
You see what happens when you spread this stupid crap, fat ass? Can I go now?
You guys are blind! Can't believe that everyone here is just buying into what they're told by the media. I'm gonna blow the lid off this whole 9/11 conspiracy once and for all.
Oh, no.
Cartman.
Is it wrong for me to ask questions? Is it wrong to seek the truth? I can't base my logic on proof. All the evidence points one way, but I'm like Charlie Sheen and Gloria Stefan. I need to know what really happened on 9/11, 11. What really happened? It's so obvious. How did we not see it before?
Oh, boy. What is he going to come up with?
He they frog, not a toad, because toads don't ribbit. I think frogs are good pets.
Okay, thank you, Leroy. Thanks for sharing your dumb little frog with the class. Okay, anybody
Dumb
else
little
have anything
frog.
for show and tell?
For show and tell today, I have
Here
brought
we go.
my shocking PowerPoint report on the truth behind the 9/11 attacks.
Just put the glasses on to take them off.
Did you know jet fuel doesn't burn at high enough temperature to melt steel? We were told the Pentagon was hit by a hijacked plane as well. But now look at this photo of the Pentagon. The hole is not nearly big enough. And if a plane hit it, where's the rest of the plane? Whoa. There are in fact 2 towers. 2 minus 1 is 1. 1, 1, 11. 2 minus 1 is 1. 1, 1. And there are 9 members on Silverstein's board of directors. And take 2 minus 1 plus 9/11, and you get 12. Which leads us all to the mastermind of the 9/11 attacks.
How?
Me?
12 contains the numbers 1 and 2, just like the toilet yesterday where somebody went number 2 instead of number 1. Who had the most to gain from 9/11? Kyle. Who was nowhere to be found the morning the towers fell? Kyle. Who dropped a deuce in the urinal? Kyle.
You are reaching so hard, boy.
When I zoomed in, I saw what first appeared to be a blur. But when I computer enhanced it, you almost got away with it, you sneaky butthole.
Hello, Booby. How was school today?
Terrible.
Oh, come on. School isn't all that bad.
But everyone thinks I was responsible for 9/11.
What? We have to do something. It is obvious our children are still completely confused about 9/11.
Yes, we need to go over it again in the classroom so they understand what really happened.
Well, what really happened?
I wasn't there, of course, but I do remember seeing some of the live news coverage on 9.
Peter, Lois is your wife. You should be defending her, not talking trash and gossiping behind her back like some kind of Midwestern teenager.
Did you gals hear about Allie Gallagher? She let Alan Ackerman smack her in the back with his tallywhacker behind the snack shack.
What? Nobody here in Maryland?
Smack her in the back with his... She let Alan Ackerman smack her in the back with his tallywhacker behind the snack shack.
What? Nobody here in Maryland understands a single word you're saying. You should move back to Minnesota.
I can't go back. I Snapchatted Matt Gacarac a Kodak on my ass crack. Allie...
Western teenager.
Did you gals hear about Allie Gallagher? She let Alan Ackerman smack her in the back with his tallywhacker behind the snack shack.
What? Nobody here in Maryland understands a single word you're saying. You should move back to Minnesota.
I can't go back. I Snapchatted Matt Gacarac a Kodak on my ass crack.
What? No.
Definitely no offense, we all have our accents. Us Utahns say mountain, fountain, Layton without the T's. So, but in Minnesota, for a lot of them, a lot of it is the long O. So Minnesota and oh my, and also a lot of them, depending how, if they're native to the state of Minnesota, any word ending with AG, such as bag or tag, will have a long A attached to it. So it's bag and tag. I remember one woman told us that she had to cancel dinner. So basically said it was, sorry elders, there's been a snag in the plan. It took me a while to catch that one. But, oh snap, okay. A couple times I mentioned too was the term oofta, which is, you have to get pretty deep Minnesotan to hear that one, but it is there. So
9/11, and some of that stuff was really disturbing. And I don't know if you can find it anymore, but I remember seeing people on those upper floors who had no options, seeing some of them jumping. And of course they didn't show people falling to the ground or whatever, but some stuff you just can't unsee.
There's strong evidence that what we were told isn't the truth.
Oh, Skeeter.
Oh, no. We don't take kindly to your types in here.
That's right. Did you know there were explosions seen at the base of the towers?
No, Look, whatever you believe, the fact of the matter is somebody dropped a Duke in the school urinal, and there's still no explanation for that. There's no coffee in the teacher's lounge, and then you walk into the bathroom just to find a big Duke laying there in the urinal.
He's right. The turd could have been put in there to cover up 9/11.
No, I'm not saying they're related. How do we know they're not? We need to be brave enough to ask questions.
Don't listen to anything Randy says.
This is too big a mystery for me. I think we better call in the Hardley boys.
Oh no, not the goddamn...
The Hardley boys, two young whippersnappers with a taste for solving mystery. The Hardley boys in the case of the World Trade Center conspiracy.
Oh, goodness.
So that's about the long and short of it, Hardley boys. There were two towers that stood right here, and they're gone.
Who would benefit most from two buildings disappearing? Oh, Frank, seriously? I have such a raging clue right now.
Okay, let's follow your raging clue. Godspeed.
Are they gonna solve anything? He can see you, dude, behind the car.
Kyle! Ah! Dude, do you mind telling me why CIA guys are coming to my house and questioning me about you? I don't know, dude. It's like everyone's putting pieces together that aren't there.
But why did you have to involve me?
It's not my fault.
I've been doing a lot of research on the web, and I found an organization who says they can prove you weren't involved in 9/11. There's just one thing I need to know
Doesn't need
before
to
we
be
go.
any proof.
You weren't responsible for 9/11, right?
Dude.
That's all I needed.
This is Mr. Venezuela, the school janitor. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were a wax sculpture.
No, man, I'm the janitor. I'm supposed to be cleaning, but I'm so tired.
Mr. Venezuela makes $6 an hour at best. Okay. He's got 3 kids at home. He's got a car that barely works. He's got to clean up puke with sawdust. Then he walks into the boys' room and sees a big meaty chud staring him in the face. So when you crapped in that urinal, okay, you might as well have just dropped your pants and laid a turd right on Mr. Venezuela's head. Oh, you think it's funny, huh?
Mr. Mackey, we got him.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Huh?
We caught the person that did it.
What do you
Hi, we were hoping you can help us. My friend is being blamed for 9/11.
Oh, geez. Come on in, kids. It doesn't surprise me. More and more people are being blamed for 9/11 every day.
They are?
Oh, Christ, that's a real website. It even has an AI chat.
It doesn't surprise me. More and more people are being blamed for 9/11 every day.
They are?
Oh, Christ, that's a real website. It even has an AI chatbot now.
Why would the government attack its own buildings?
It's called the
Yeah.
false flag policy. Make it look like the enemy has attacked you. Get all your citizens riled up and waving American flags. Then you're free to invade any country you want.
That's retarded.
Look into the evidence of 9/11 and you'll see there are a lot of holes in their story.
There's a lot of holes in the theory of evolution, too. It doesn't mean it's wrong.
You don't understand. The government controls everything. The media, the corporations. They have the power to do anything they want. Here, look. Read the labels on these. Go on, read them.
Code 234.
We think they came from a government office.
What is it?
It's anthrax.
Anthrax?
Oh,
Someday
no.
we'll use it as evidence against them.
Stan, we can't be seen with this nut job.
Wrong place, wrong time.
Why did you do it?
I don't know.
Clyde actually did it?
You decide you're gonna be a comedian, okay? And pinch one off in the urinal. And leave it laying there for everyone to have to look at. Okay, you think it's funny, but nobody else does. They gotta walk in that bathroom and see your ranted dick propped up against the back of the urinal like a brown rag doll.
Mr. Mackey, Clyde's parents are here.
Okay, that's good. Let's see what your mom and dad have to say about your little poopscapade. Come on in, please. I'm just trying to get
Clyde's
your son to
mom.
explain why he would drop a duke in the urinal.
I'm sick and tired of it. If I had sat down, I would have gotten toilet water all over my vagina.
Mr. Mackey, there's something you should know.
What? That's good storytelling, though. You leave those open loops to make you want to know what happens. Bush.
Mr. President, my name is...
Shut up! You think we don't know your name? We know everything. We control everything. We've all worked very hard to keep our involvement in 9/11 a secret. But you just had to keep digging.
Really?
They're nailing that voice, though.
People just had to keep digging.
Really?
They're nailing that voice, though.
People know.
You mean sheeple? We have the majority of them kept in blissful ignorance. Just one more leak to fix.
Wait, what are you doing?
You've been a thorn in our side for too long, I'm afraid.
I'll take down the website.
Too late.
Oh.
Jesus Christ! He was right. You did cause 9/11.
Yes, quite simple to pull off, really. All I had to do was have explosives planted in the base of the towers. Then on 9/11, we pretended like 4 planes were being hijacked when really we just rerouted them to Pennsylvania, then flew 2 military jets in the World Trade Center filled with more explosives and shot down all the witnesses in Flight 93 with an F-15 after blowing up the Pentagon with a cruise missile. It was only the world's most intricate and flawlessly executed plan ever.
153.
Really? Why?
The oldest reason in the world. Money. The towers fell.
Really? Why?
The oldest reason in the world. money. The towers fell and the American sheeple all waved their flags. Finally, we could invade
Does he have
Iraq
a crossbow?
and get the oil, which made us all even richer than before. Beautiful money. We are all knowing. Beautiful money. We are all knowing and all powerful. Goodbye, boys.
Dang it, I missed again.
For Christ's sake, Cheney!
Vice President Dick Cheney accidentally shot and wounded a man.
Kyle, run!
Kill them!
Attention, students. Apparently, Clyde could not have been the one who crapped in the urinal because Clyde had a colostomy at age 5. Now, whoever did this unspeakable act is still at large.
Why would you announce that over the PA system?
Until further notice. Because one of you thought it would be a good idea to pull down your pants, okay? Hover your butt cheeks over the urinal and squeeze out a chocolate hot dog. Okay? Oh, you think that's funny, huh? Let me assure you there is nothing funny about going up to a nice, clean, unsuspecting urinal, okay, dropping your pants and then turning around, squatting over that urinal, okay, maybe pulling your butt cheeks apart with your hands, and then laying out a big fudge dragon for all the world to see.
Oh, stop. Get off the PA system, Mr. Mackey.
I'm gonna catch this son of a bitch if it's the last thing I do. Okay?
Why is he so invested?
It just doesn't seem right.
Yeah, our eyes are finally open, dude. It's like waking up for the first time.
Yeah, but doesn't it seem like we got out of the White House pretty easily? I mean, it seems like it would be pretty hard to escape from the White House with everyone chasing you, and we just kind of ran out.
Oh, nice.
Hey! Dude, you're alive? Come back here!
But I thought his brains got blown out.
No, please, don't kill me. I
You're
just do what they
elementary
say.
school kid.
But who says?
I have a family. Please don't kill me.
Dude, we aren't going to kill you.
Oh, God!
Is he
It isn't
really
safe here,
dead
boys.
this
Follow
time?
me.
Who the fuck are you?
There's no time. Come on.
You figured this thing all out?
Not me. My mystery-solving sons. Come on in, boys. My
Here we
boys were
go.
researching who went number 2 in the urinal at your school when they discovered something odd, which gave them a clue.
I got such a raging clue that I almost shot clue goo all over Joe.
Those clues pointed out that all the 9/11 conspiracy theories could be disproven scientifically. And that's when Frank got his biggest clue.
It was huge.
That all the 9/11 conspiracy websites are run by the government. The 9/11 conspiracy is a government conspiracy.
Don't believe what he says, boys. We caused 9/11. It's all right here in these secret documents, but you'll never get them.
I knew it! You didn't plan 9/11 and you didn't really shoot that guy!
People need to think we're all powerful, that we control the world. If they knew we weren't in charge of 9/11, then we appear to control nothing.
Why don't you just tell people the truth?
1/4 of the population is retarded. If they want to believe that we control everything with intricate plans, why not let them?
How the devil did you know we were all here?
Oh.
That's all we had to do.
Stan! What the fuck?
It was all planned out.
Double cross.
Why?
Because it was me. I'm the one who took a dump in the urinal.
What?
The stalls were full and I didn't want to miss recess. I didn't think it would turn into such a big deal.
So you blame the government?
And the government was more than willing to take the blame so long as it made them look responsible for 9/11.
Oh man, now everyone's gonna know.
What? Stan took the dump in the urinal and he contacted the conspiracy website? But the conspiracy site was run by the government?
Yeah.
So then who was responsible for 9/11?
What do you mean? A bunch of pissed off Muslims.
Yeah, what are you, retarded? Well, it looks like this mystery is solved.
It's time for the culprit to finally pay.
When you duke in the urinal, it's bad, okay? How would you feel if somebody came into your home, okay? Pulled down their pants and laid a big mud monkey right on your mom's face? Oh, you think that's funny, huh? Yeah, that's real funny.
The storyline on this one got my head a little twisted up, to be honest, because of all of the roundabout conspiracy theory stuff, but it was still interesting, and the Hardy Boys with their weird mouths, and Mr. Mackey's dookie jokes really got me. But thank you so much for recommending this episode.
Imagine a scientist looking at you, studying your features, and assigning you a score, one that determines whether or not you belong or whether or not you're something less than. In 1885, John Badeau, a leading British anthropologist, did just that. He created something called the Index of Negrescence, literally a scale of blackness. And if you were Irish, the science was not on your side.
And when Irish eyes are smiling, sure they'd steal your heart away.
What if I told you that just 150 years ago, the Irish were not considered fully white? Their skulls were measured, their hair color ranked, and their entire identity questioned. This isn't some obscure footnote in history. It was mainstream science. If you've ever looked at an old 19th century newspaper, you would see racial classification charts. And you might expect to see prejudices at the time against African Americans or Brits with African ancestry, but right next to those, you would see an Irishman. They were drawn with exaggerated, almost ape-like features and labeled as something less than fully human. And this wasn't just racist propaganda. Like I said, it was science with a capital S. And it shaped everything, the jobs that Irish immigrants could get, how they were treated in America, and even the stories that were or weren't passed down in families, including mine. And the fact that this history has been erased is not an accident. Hi, I'm Danielle Romero. Thank you so much for being with me here on my channel, where we talk about American identity and family stories. And part of my family story connects to Ireland. Most of the videos on this channel are about my journey of connecting to my mom's Louisiana roots. Her gram was born in Louisiana, of mixed ancestry, but her gram married an Irish boy from New York. That side of this family, it's been harder for me to trace, but it's been really rewarding and shocking at the same time. In the 19th century, race wasn't about skin color. It was about power. Scientific racism, the attempt to use science to justify racial hierarchies, was everywhere. And this was not a fringe belief. This was mainstream. This was everywhere. It was published in newspapers, taught in universities, and used to justify policies that shaped millions of lives. Now, one of the most popular forms of this pseudoscience was something called phrenology, this idea that the skull shape determines intelligence and moral character, and scientists would measure jaw angles, forehead slopes, facial structures to argue that some groups are naturally superior, some are inferior. And if you were Irish, the science was not on your side. I spent a lot of time on the Library of Congress website, which is amazing. I love the Library of Congress. You can get on there, search through primary sources. I was flipping through really old books on phrenology. It was just amazing to immerse myself in the way people perceive the world at the time. Imagine a scientist looking at you, studying your features, and assigning you a score, one that determines whether or not you belong or whether or not you're something less than. In 1885, John Badeau, a leading British anthropologist, did just that. He created something called the Index of Negrescence, literally a scale of blackness. He studied 13,000 men and he ranked them based on just their hair color. And this is how he assigned points. He said, if you have red hair or blonde hair, you get 1 point. If you have brown or chestnut, you're neutral. If you have dark hair, 1 point. Black hair, 2 points. And so when he mapped out his findings, he decided that the Irish, along with the Welsh and the Scots, were ranked as significantly darker than the Anglo-Saxons. In his conclusion, the Irish weren't truly white, and they were a separate lower race than the Anglo-Saxons. They were more primitive, more emotional, and less capable of self-governance, which I think is kind of like a real doozy to throw in there, right? So this wasn't just an academic theory. There were real-world repercussions. This was used to justify discrimination. It shaped how the Irish were viewed in Britain, which is a massive history all on its own, right? And how they were treated in America, which is what we're going to get to. But if you think that sounds extreme, consider what Charles Kingsley, who was a well-respected historian and clergyman, read pastor, wrote after he visited Ireland. He said, quote, "I am haunted by the human chimpanzees I saw there in Ireland. But to see white chimpanzees is dreadful. If they were black, one would not feel it so much." He wasn't alone. British political cartoons, especially Punch magazine, regularly depicted the Irish with ape-like features, framing them as violent, animalistic, inferior, drunkards. But this wasn't just a British view.
Nothing, I'm just enjoying this vivid display of Irish character.
These ideas followed Irish immigrants.
Just enjoying this vivid display of Irish character.
These ideas followed Irish immigrants across the Atlantic Ocean. You see a lot of these political cartoons in America as well. When the Irish immigrants arrived in the U.S., they faced open hostility at times. They weren't immediately accepted as white or the possibility of becoming American. They were met with the "No Irish Need Apply" signs and job postings. I know there's been some discussion about whether or not that's real. It is most certainly real. I have a newspapers.com subscription, which is amazing, and you could search your old papers. In just a 2-second search, I was able to come up with a bunch of ads that said in them, like, don't apply if you're Irish. Just straight up don't. The Irish were portrayed in America as dangerous, criminal, lazy, and many Americans questioned whether the Irish were even fit for citizenship. There's a political cartoon I'm thinking of. I don't have it printed out, but I'll put it on the screen. Basically, it's Lady Liberty there. She's stirring this big pot. This is the American melting pot. And you see all these different people kind of being put in there, and they're all blending together, except there's one guy standing in the back that seems kind of out of control. I think he has his arms up in the air. He's yelling. He's pugnacious. He's not agreeable. He's not folding in, and he's Irish. And I think the caption says something to that effect of this is the one group that can't really become Americans. How amazing to hear that talk. When we talk about the Irish now, you wouldn't think of it as, oh, well, these guys can't really become Americans. I mean, they're as American as anyone, right? But that's not how they were perceived when they first came here. And many Irish immigrants distanced themselves from other marginalized groups to try to protect themselves, especially Black Americans. They did begin to align themselves politically with white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, even though most of them, like my family, were Catholic. My great-great-grandpa came over from Northern Ireland, and he was Catholic, which is a whole history there. But the Irish did begin to adopt the language and the customs here, and the process wasn't immediate, but it did work. Another thing that I had read about was the Irish, especially in Boston, New York, which is where you find a lot of Irish Americans, so as police officers, as firefighters, and kind of becoming foundational parts of the community, and that helped that identity shift as well. So why does this history matter, though, today? Because I think it shows that one race is not really about skin color. It's about power. The Irish were not always seen as white. They were not even seen as full people. They weren't seen as people who could ever become Americans. And the fact that the Irish Americans were once placed near the bottom of a racial hierarchy, only later to climb closer to the top, proves that this is not a fixed category. It's a tool. It's malleable. It's used to divide, to exclude, to destroy, and control people. And if we don't recognize that, we risk repeating the same patterns that once left the Irish immigrants on the margins of society. Most Irish Americans don't know that their ancestors were once seen as truly racially different. And I would say even a step beyond when you see these portrayals of the Irish as apes. I mean, it's the same kind of garbage that you see with Africans, you see with Italians. There's this idea of these guys are so low, they're half animal. But now that you do, what do you make of it? History has a way of shaping the present, whether we acknowledge it or not, whether we understand it or not. So let me know what you think about this. If you have Irish heritage, If you know about this history, if you'd like to watch any other videos that I've done on the Irish American experience, I will link to those below. And if you'd like to connect with me off of YouTube, I'd love to have you join me over at patreon.com/NYTN. Otherwise, we'll talk soon.
God, there's so much to unpack right there. Eliza, Elizabeth.
Welcome to Mir's Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most embarrassing and uncomfortable discoveries on the genealogy series Finding Your Roots that left celebrity guests a little uneasy. Number 20, Nora O'Donnell's grandmother's citizenship revoked.
It says Mary Teresa Monahan, and then it says canceled.
Canceled? Do you know what that means?
Does that mean she was denied?
The grandparents of CBS News anchor Nora O'Donnell immigrated from Ireland to the US, where they met and got married. O'Donnell's grandmother, Mary Monahan, came to America at 23 and managed to build a life for herself, eventually becoming a naturalized citizen. However, Monahan's citizenship was unexpectedly revoked, not because she committed any violent crime or act of treason, but because she told a little lie.
Claiming that she was single when she was actually already married. Why did she lie?
Since her husband, O'Donnell's grandfather, was still an undocumented immigrant, Monahan lied about her marital status to protect him from being deported. Call it a white lie or a loving fib, but for O'Donnell, it was a surprising revelation that made her reevaluate how she viewed her grandmother.
It's a reminder that, you know, that we all come from somewhere. And, sometimes we forget where we came from.
Number 19, Sammy Hagar or Sammy Belcher.
Sammy, genetically, you are not a Hagar.
Get out of here.
You want to find out what your real biological surname is?
Yes, this is nutty as anything I've ever imagined.
When Van Halen lead singer Sammy Hagar appeared on Finding Your Roots, he made some shocking discoveries, but none left him quite as bewildered as this one. The show's researchers unearthed an 1850 census document, which revealed that Hagar's great-great-grandmother, Elizabeth, was raising her kids alone. Oddly enough, her husband was alive and well, living in a neighboring county with his own mother.
And as far as we can tell, they never reunited. They separated and never reunited.
She raised kids by herself?
She raised kids by herself, yeah.
Wow.
So this is where the story gets wild.
To untangle this mystery, they tested Hagar's DNA and found that he shared no biological connection to the Hagar family. Instead, he was genetically linked to 27 men with the surname Belcher. Host Henry Louis Gates Jr. speculated that Elizabeth may have had an affair, which prompted her husband to leave her and move in with his mother.
This gives me so much mind-chewing ability. I mean, man, my mind's going to work on this like a mouse on a wheel of cheese, man.
Number 18, a legal dispute in John Waters' family.
This is like a Dickens novel, and you never heard anything about it.
No.
Well, that's how the money was passed out.
Bitter family disputes are nothing new. They have occurred for centuries, plaguing both royal elites and regular folks.
Never heard anything about it.
No.
Legal dispute.
Like a mouse on a wheel of cheese, man.
Number 18, a legal dispute in John Waters' family.
This is like a Dickens novel, and you never heard anything about it.
No.
Well, that's how the money was passed out.
Bitter family disputes are nothing new. They have occurred for centuries, plaguing both royal elites and regular folks alike. In the season 7 premiere, filmmaker John Waters learned about a conflict within his own family.
It's twisted history.
It
right?
is.
Yeah.
Your family tree drips with drama.
Yeah. Yeah.
After the death of her husband, Waters' great-grandmother, Bertha Whitaker, was dragged to court by her mother-in-law, Mary. This fight was over custody of Bertha's young son, Clifford, and as an disagreement.
You know, I'm always thinking up and saying things that happen to people. Yeah. That's how I make my living.
Number 17, LeVar
Up and saying things that
in a John Waters film.
And thinking up drama. You know, I'm always thinking up and saying things that happen to people. Yeah. That's how I make my living.
Number 17, LeVar Burton learns of his white ancestor.
Did you have any idea you had a white direct ancestor?
No! No, I had no idea.
When you go digging into your factor, then actor Burton links to his ancestors' tragic fate.
Do you have any idea what they are accusing your ancestor Gertrude of?
Century, individuals across Europe, especially women, faced accusations. Gertrude, 17th century. Number 15, Larry David's secretive mother. It can be astounding how little one knows about their own family history. For comedian Larry David, this truth hit hard when he went on the show hoping to learn more about his mother, Rose, who he admits was notoriously secretive.
You know, she was older than my father.
Right.
I never knew that until she died.
Oh, okay. So there you go.
It's always puzzled me how little I knew.
As the researchers sifted through historical records, they unearthed a document showing that his grandmother had a daughter named Regina. But David was puzzled. He had never had an Aunt Regina. Did she die, change her name, or simply vanish?
Wow, so you think we made a mistake?
No, I don't think you made a mistake. I think she must have left somebody there, or maybe she died.
Well, no. Turns out David's mother, Rose, was actually born Regina, a fact he was completely unaware of. Whatever reason she had for the name change, Rose took it to her grave, leaving her son utterly confused.
Did you know your mother was born in Europe?
No, I did not. You see, this is why
she had secrets.
Yeah, secrets, yeah.
Number 14, a hidden relationship in Sierra's ancestry.
Nathan, no, don't go there.
Nathan said, I'm going there.
Yeah, he went there, and his wife went somewhere else.
In the season 10 premiere, Sierra stumbled upon a family secret involving her great-great-grandmother, Emily.
Deserves it.
Number 11, Ben Affleck controversy.
It's always been a kind of a blank canvas to me, and so I'm very excited to sort of fill in the blanks.
Discovering that one's ancestors owned slaves can be embarrassing for some people. It was this sense of shame that pushed actor Ben Affleck to a drastic point.
It makes it feel less academic and more personal, and I'm very surprised by this.
Affleck appeared on the show in 2014, where he learned that his maternal ancestor Benjamin Cole was a slave owner in Georgia. The revelation unsettled him.
Connection.
Number 10, Laura Linney's.
Lynchings of Italians took place all over the South. Northern Italians considered Southern Italians racially inferior and too African to be a part of Europe. The story of the Italian immigrants' journey from a racialized pariah in the 19th century to white Americans in the 20th century sheds light on how much race is just a construct in the United States. Italians became white because of something that happened in Louisiana. Hi, my name is Danielle Romero, and I'm so glad that you're here with me again on my channel, where I talk about genealogy, ancestry, hidden heritage, and it's amazing how interconnected the world is. Congress had initially envisioned a white Protestant and culturally homogenous America when in 1790 it declared that only, quote, free white persons could become naturalized citizens. Waves of culturally diverse immigrants from Europe in the 19th century changed this perception, and Americans adopted a more restrictive, politicized view of whiteness. Because of their darker complexions, Italians, in particular Southern Italians, like my dad's family, were not considered white. This is particularly dangerous in the American South, where Italians were the second most common targets of lynchings, and in some areas were semi-segregated. Italian immigrants, particularly those from southern Italy, like my family, faced racial discrimination in both Italy and the United States. I was able to find some documents showing my dad's great aunts coming over, and on the manifest for the ship, they would mark your nationality. A lot of them would say Italy, 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 and for his family, it said Italy, and then as a separate designation, South, just to let you know that they weren't Northern Italian. Northern Italians considered Southern Italians racially inferior and too African to be a part of Europe. In the United States, Italian immigrants were subjected to racist stereotypes in books, magazines, newspapers, and faced discrimination in schools, movie houses, labor unions, and public spaces. Italians who accepted what was considered a black job or chose to live among African Americans, which was a very common thing. They often integrated into the same neighborhoods, were marked as black, and they faced violence from the mobs in the South in the same way. A huge part of this history, the Italian-American experience, is connected to New Orleans. I want to talk about Sicilians and Italians navigating the Jim Crow South. I want to talk about history, the Italian-American experience, is connected to New Orleans. I want to talk about Sicilians and Italians navigating the Jim Crow South, because to my surprise, Italians and Sicilians, and I'm going to use that term interchangeably because for my family, it kind of is interchangeable, but it is different. And so when we're talking about Italy, you know, you have like the boot, and my family is mostly from like toe of the boot in southern Italy, and then Sicily is this island that was its own kingdom, and then became part of Italy proper. I'll probably be using them interchangeably because I use them interchangeably for my own self-identification. So between 1880 and 1920, there was an economic crisis following this unification that was happening in Italy. And there was just like a lot of social unrest, and about 4 million Italians who were mostly Southern Italians, like my family, they immigrated to the United States. A lot of these Italian Americans and Sicilian Americans were recruited to fill a labor shortage that was produced by the rapidly industrializing United States economy. And a lot of immigrants arrived with basically the clothes on their back. The lack of formal education and the limited English proficiency that restricted a lot of Italian immigrants to jobs like manual labor and low-paying jobs. A lot of Italians kind of settled in these neighborhoods called like Little Italy. A lot of racism against Italians. This was not just in the South and not in the North. It was kind of across the board. Italian immigrants and African Americans often lived in the same neighborhoods and worked together, and they were considered basically the enemies of the Jim Crow laws. The Italian newcomers encountered propaganda against them when they landed on American soil. They were described in the press as swarthy and kinky-haired, and members of a criminal race, epithets, and against them when they landed on American soil. They were described in the press as swarthy and kinky-haired, and members of a criminal race, epithets. Like Dago and Guinea, which was a term of derision. There were epithets as propaganda against them when they landed on American soil. They were described in the press as swarthy and kinky-haired, and members of a criminal race, epithets like Dago and Guinea, which was a term of derision. Epithets like Dago and Guinea. Which was a term of derision. There was worse ones that I wouldn't feel comfortable saying on here. That was a term of derision. There was worse ones that I wouldn't feel comfortable saying on here. The penalties, though, of blackness went well beyond name-calling in the apartheid South. Italians who had come to this country as, quote, free white persons, according to one article, were marked as black. Italian immigrants were often indifferent towards America's racial hierarchy. And in 1899, there were 2 Italian shopkeepers and 3 customers who were also Italian. They were lynched in Tallulah, Louisiana, for refusing to wait on Caucasians before African-American customers. Lynchings of Italians took place all over the South: Mississippi, Texas, Florida, Kentucky, Illinois, and also places like Colorado and New York. Despite being well regarded in New Orleans in the 1870s, Italian immigrants faced negative stereotypes in northern newspapers. Italian language newspapers frequently would report the heinous crimes. In Italy, there was a song called The Five Poor Italians, which was of an event in Louisiana, in New Orleans. On October 15th, 1890, New Orleans police chief David Hennessy was assassinated outside of his home. As Hennessy lay dying, he whispered, "The Dagos did it." Within days, as Hennessy lay dying, he whispered, "The Dagos did it." Within days, 250 Hennessy lay